Hello everyone, welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. I have a quick update regarding T-Mobile for you. The link for this article can be found down below in the description. The update here is a developing story. It's a continuation of an article I talked about maybe about a little over a month ago. This update is regarding 7 customers of AT&T and Verizon that have taken a lawsuit to T-Mobile's front door. Basically, they're going after T-Mobile in regards to the T-Mobile and Sprint merger that took place. This merger was $26 billion, and it allowed T-Mobile to get a massive amount of spectrum, taking over Sprint, its customers, all of it, and giving them a massive jump in starting their 5G network. So much that it really put a massive dent in AT&T and Verizon at first financially. It hit them hard because AT&T and Verizon had to work so much harder to just get started because T-Mobile had such a massive jump. And it cost them a lot of money because a lot of customers, I think, left and went to T-Mobile as a result of getting a fresh start on 5G, as where AT&T and Verizon were very slow with it. Customers were hearing about the advertisements and they wanted it. They didn't want old technology. They were done with LTE. And T-Mobile does work really good in large city areas. Their 5G network tends to be pretty hot in large city areas. There are some cities where it could be a little better, but T-Mobile tends to shine in large city areas. Their weakness has been in rural communities, smaller towns that aren't as wide, where the cells are very far away. That hasn't been T-Mobile's strong point. That's starting to change. They're getting better now. They're starting to appeal more to rural communities, and this is great news for T-Mobile, right? But that wasn't always the case. AT&T and Verizon were more like rural community type people as well as city people. They were just a bit more reliable than T-Mobile, well all around, correct? I think so. But they were behind on building 5G, and they still are, and to some degree, but they're catching up a lot. Verizon's certainly catching up a great deal, and AT&T taking their time, but it's happening. So we're not really talking about who's the best 5G here. I'm just trying to give you a reason for my arguing and kind of, situate it and sort it out so we have an understanding of what this is all about. So the lawsuit here is because these customers are upset that this merger cost all kinds of money all around. It cost AT&T and Verizon more money to have to compete. So therefore, they had to raise prices on their plans and customers had to pay them. So they're upset about that. And they say that it was unfair that this merger even happened. And they're blaming T-Mobile for this. And they basically want T-Mobile to pay them. There's no mention of how much T-Mobile would be responsible for paying if indeed they lose this case and they're responsible to pay out these 7 customers. Obviously, it's more than likely in the high millions. 7 customers, I doubt they're doing this for chump change. They're doing this because, they're claiming stress and who knows what it is. Obviously, there's some anger behind their intentions here and they want to get paid. They're not entirely wrong. This merger was, to some degree, a letdown to many. T-Mobile did promise to make things better with this merger. And in fact, it actually kind of did the complete opposite. They were supposed to build the economy up, provide more jobs to employees of Sprint, like take better care of them. And they actually put more than half of Sprint employees on the unemployment line. That started pretty early, and there was another wave of it not that long ago, like a year ago, maybe even less, where more Sprint customers got kicked. I think it was over the summer, actually, when Sprint officially shut down all business, all towers, everything was gone. Any remaining Sprint employees, I think, were kicked out along with that. So T-Mobile lied. They were dishonest. They were not honest with us when they said that they were going to make things better. All right. And, prices went up, right? That we started to see T-Mobile become less on carrier. That's really when it started, folks. That's when T-Mobile started to change. Slowly but surely, it became more carrier. And, with the pandemic and everything that happened, T-Mobile couldn't be as aggressive. They had to still kind of be uncarrier-like. They had to be compassionate because people were going through things, and you couldn't, with the coronavirus going on in the world and, basically in havoc, you couldn't just jump out of your shell and be what you wanted to be, an animal at the time, and start raising prices and doing everything. So it was slow, but we're starting to see now it's changing, right? Their prices are going up. They're becoming more serious. They're becoming a carrier again, not uncarrier. And this is not a bash against T-Mobile. I will say this about any carrier here that I talk about on the channel. What I'm saying is T-Mobile lied with this merger. So I get why these customers are upset. I think they're trying to prove a point more than anything. And then it was just the concerns of how allowing, large carriers to merge like this into one, giving less opportunity and less options for consumers is never really a good thing, right? We don't want a monopoly of things. That's like, what if all carriers merged together? We'd get one really powerful network. But what if you hate the company? What if you hate how it's run? What if you hate the plans? What if it's too expensive? But that's all you have. You have this really strong network that works everywhere, but you can't afford it, or you don't like how you're being treated. What good does that do? You have this great network that you can't stand to use for whatever reason it is. It's human nature to want to have some options. We want to be able to make the decision for ourselves. This is 2024. We don't want to be forced to use one carrier. So that's the idea behind this is they want to put a stop to these types of things. And we're seeing a lot of it with T-Mobile. They're buying up a lot. They just did close the deal with, Mint and Ultra. And, it is looking a little scary when you really get down to the bottom line of it all, seeing how much spectrum T-Mobile is getting their hands on. But it's all, it is what it is. We can't stop it, right? But there has to be some limits, I think, to some degree. And I guess that's what these customers are really just trying to say. So they're not wrong for trying. According to this article, though, it doesn't look like they're going to be held accountable. Pretty much, it was approved. And they're basically, it looks like we have Blair Levin from the New Street Research. Basically, Blair is saying that, this might be a difficult time for T-Mobile. It might be unpleasant. But they don't think that T-Mobile is going to be responsible. They think that T-Mobile is going to win and not be forced to pay damages. So we'll see. That will be interesting. They're saying T-Mobile will likely prevail for a multitude of reasons, including that is a factual matter. The court is likely to find that there are too many events independent of the merger to explain the price increases. So I guess they're trying to blame, pandemic and, whatever. I don't even know, but they'll find other reasons to say that this is why AT&T and Verizon went up, that they had to do that because whatever reason internally with their business is why they had to charge more, that it has nothing to do directly with T-Mobile. But I'll use this, like I said, as an opportunity to discuss the faults of this merger. It did bring the start of 5G pretty much, which is good. There's a positive, but they weren't honest, and that's the thing. When big companies merge like this, we got to look out. It's usually not good. It's never what it's supposed to be. It's always good for the company because there's, the CEOs and everybody there is getting paid at the expense of, the consumers. Unfortunately, we're the ones that deal with the mess. When Sprint employees were getting fired and terminated, there was less stores available in certain areas, things like that. Customer service, not as many reps. So the consumer's the one that pays. We lose the, access to the service that we're used to beforehand, before this merger. Many customers were satisfied with Sprint. It worked for them. It was the right price. We didn't ask for this merger. They decided to go ahead and do this because it was best for them, for their pockets. And that's how it works. That's how these things work. It's a business at the end of the day. So take this with a grain of salt. It is not a negative bash against T-Mobile or any carrier. That's not what I do here. I simply point out my view on it, how I feel about it, what I think they could have done better. If I have a suggestion on what they could have done better. In this case, I think what they could have done better is kept their word. All right. I think the merger's fine. They wanted to, Sprint was done. They kind of were getting dusty. Some customers liked them, but they were getting a little dusty. T-Mobile had the money to come in and, buy them out and repolish certain things that Sprint could have done a little better. Not that Sprint was terrible, but there was a lot of areas it was weak. And T-Mobile, in some way helped make them stronger, made it look a little bit more attractive, but there was negatives. And if Sprint would have stood around, they would have had customers. They would have been fine. But, either way, the merger is not the problem. It's the fact that T-Mobile went against their word and they didn't do what they were supposed to. And that's it. And, as a result of that, customers paid. So, as always, thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.